he knows that are in there. I think the MAGA people that want the Epstein stuff out think that Clinton was having underage sex, which I doubt. But that's really not what I want to talk about. But I do think that it's very interesting that Laura Trump came out yesterday and said it needs to be transparent. Family member, his daughter-in-law, runs the RNC. That's really significant. And it's also that Trump is on the phone with the podcasters, and about 3 or 4 of them have pulled back and are not going to criticize the Epstein that mention it anymore. So you have the president of the United States calling podcasters. I think that's a little bizarre in and of itself. But then they're also buckling to the power. And you wonder, what is he saying? Am I going to turn, I'm going to turn my MAGA supporters against you? Is he leveraging some kind of threat to them? But anyway, that's not really what I want to talk about. I mean, I think it's a fissure that could be exploited, but I think it has to be, I don't think it's about Trump and Clinton having sex with underage kids. I think it's it's more about finding justice for the victims. And also that Maxwell has said that she's willing to talk, Epstein's partner. So let's see. She knows if there's a list. Let's find out, Anyway, besides that, I posted some articles in the chat. I have 2 other things on my mind I'd like to discuss. One is Obama and Mark Cuban and Jane Fonda have come out with input criticisms about the way the Democrats should be talking about things. So Obama said last Friday at a fundraiser, Democrats need to stop staring at their navel, get a little tougher. But he didn't really, and figure out. That's what he said. He said, figure out. And I just thought, I think it was a little too vague. I think he should have been more specific. Although I know former presidents don't like to critique current presidents, but Obama has been doing so more lately. So anyway, that's one thing. The other thing is Mark Cuban came out and said, it's a waste of time to just keep saying Trump sucks, that we should go to the states and the governors, because they're the ones that are going to have to respond to the Reconciliation Act, or the BBB. They're the ones that are going to have to figure out the solutions for their states. And so go target the states, zone in on the governors, find out what the states are going to do, and that's where the focus should be. So that was kind of an interesting thing to me, too. I think that's a little bit more substantive than what Obama was saying. And then I put in the Jane Fonda article for a couple of reasons. One is that's where I'm at. I work on climate and democracy, and that's where she works. She works by, besides her climate work, she went to jail on her 82nd birthday for climate. I mean, she's out there doing the real stuff on the streets, and also putting her money behind it. She puts her money behind local elections, some state elections. She's come to a fundraiser we had for Central Valley Matters. She was our guest speaker with Dolores Huerta. She is a real trooper. She's a real deal. Yeah, exactly. And she is doing the kinds of things that I think elected national politicians should be doing, as well as state. But, I think the elected national politicians are not putting enough of their boot leather in the game. I think they should be getting arrested. I think they should be out marching with the people at all these protests. Instead of, town halls are good. Holding town halls in red districts are good, but it's not quite enough. They just need to push through and do a little bit more. I would hold Jane Fonda as a great role model. So I'm interested in talking about the feedback on that, and then I have another question for the group, and because I've been bothered by one of the protests I'm going to, something happened, and I need some feedback. Anyway, what do you guys think about Obama, Cuban, and Fonda's input lately?
About their input? Oh.
Well, they've all come out and spoken. Yeah.
Exactly. Anybody here? I mean, I have sort of my opinions. Anybody want to hit that topic? Rick, you haven't spoken yet. Ricardo.
Well, I think that they all have kind of different methods to do things. I don't think it's a super unified vision. I'm not really seeing a vision. When they say Democrats should be more tough, what does more tough mean? Does more tough mean that the political party should take more control of their own political party? Does it mean that they should fight legislation harder? And how do they do that? Does becoming more tough mean self-criticism and figuring out what's wrong? I don't really know what that means. Mark Cuban, honestly, I don't know all that much about him. I do know that he's not a huge fan of Trump, but that's all I really know. I don't really know where he stands on state politics, where he stands on states' rights versus federal control. I don't know where he really stands on things like social safety nets or student loans.
Yeah.
I don't know much about him. Jane Fonda, I think Jane Fonda kind of walks the walk, but she's a celebrity who's had kind of a past that is highly, highly weaponized against her.